Hi, welcome to Somerville Producers Group. Hi, welcome to Somerville Producers Group, Dead Air Live. My name is Michael McCarthy, and I'm the president of the Boston Copley Toastmasters Group in Boston, Massachusetts. Toastmasters is a 90-year-old organization which is designed specifically as a nonprofit to help people such as you, normal, everyday people, to learn better public speaking. Whether you want to be a better public speaker to get a better job, to give just a speech at a wedding, to give a eulogy, to give presentations for work or at university, Toastmasters is where beginners can come, learn from the very start how to become a better public speaker, and we've expanded our club to where now we're doing community television with our members as well as students who are in our Boston Public Speaking Academy. If you have an interest in visiting our club or joining our club, just go to meetup.com and in the search box, search for Boston Public Speaking. Tonight's format is going to be what we call table topics. And our table topics master is Tim Scalabon. Tim is going to explain to you exactly what table topics are, and then we're going to jump right into the show. Tim, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. Now, the purpose of table topics is to practice improv speaking. So what I would do is I would present a question to the audience, then each audience member will have 2 minutes to answer the question. And I strongly encourage all of you, when you answer the question, to have 3 main points: an introduction and also a conclusion. And I will, for this, what I would do is we would do a rotation. So for the first question that I have, what was your biggest inspiration? Would you like to come on up?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. My name's Laura. The question is, what is my favorite inspiration, my best inspiration? I guess I'd have to say, as a child, I really enjoyed playing golf with my father. He was a great teacher to me. But what he gave me for inspiration was that you never give up and you never stop trying to improve what you're doing. So that was a great inspiration for me, because I would see him at age 80 going out before his tournament, his club tournament, and he'd practice at age 80. He was going to get ready and tuned up for that tournament like it was his first tournament. So to me, that was a great inspiration, and I've taken that to heart, and I've used it in my life to try to get better at just about everything I want to be better at. So thank you. Thanks, Tim.
It's so amazing that you had a role model such as that in your life. Would the next club member like to come on up?
My biggest inspiration is when I was working on my dissertation for my computer science master's degree, and I was working a lot, and I had to find some ideas. I was reading a table book, which was a cooking book, and I opened the book. I saw those ingredients, combination of ingredients in the recipe, and this helped me actually to come with this idea working on my dissertation. And working on computer science and getting the inspiration from the cooking book was something that was sort of weird to me, but it worked on my dissertation, and yep. Thank you.
That just goes to show that you can find inspiration anywhere. That's amazing. I love to cook, and I'm always looking up recipes. I never imagined that you could write your dissertation based on that. Now, would the last member like to come on up?
Thank you, Tim. My greatest inspiration was a man named Gerald Appel. Jerry Appel invented stock market timing, which was basically the art and science of predicting stock market crashes. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a famous money manager. Wall Street was very exciting to me. I did work on Wall Street, but I didn't have really great jobs, cold calling, working in the printing department. And finally, I got a job as a researcher with Gerald Appel. He cut my salary in half because he could. And I said, if you're going to do that, you need to teach me how to trade the stock market. And he did. Jerry became like a father figure to me. I was like his son because his son didn't want to go into his business. And Jerry taught me how to be a stock market timer. I started my own firm when I was 26. And in 10 years, I was managing over $250 million. And it was all because Jerry Appel kept his deal. And he taught me everything he knew. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It sounds like he's very inspirational. And it just goes to show you that all of us really need to take the time to work hard and maybe work for less money at the beginning in order to achieve our goals. For the next question, how would an extra $1,000 a month change your life? Would you like to answer that question?
Thanks, Tim. How would an extra $1,000 a month change my life? Well, I got to tell you, I got to be perfectly honest. I don't think it's going to change my life a whole lot. I guess what I would say is if I had an extra $1,000, I could probably give some of that to my teenage daughter to make her be quiet about various things that she wants to buy all the time, like fancy shoes and clothes. And perhaps I could pay off some of my debt, which I've accumulated because of my 2 children. And as far as any other differences, maybe I'd go out to dinner a little more, but it really wouldn't make a huge bit of difference. But I appreciate the opportunity to answer the question. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Maybe the question should have been $10,000 a month. Would the next member like to come on up and answer the question? Michael, would you like to come up?
Sure. Thank you, Tim. An extra $10,000 a month would probably hit my radar. And what I would do with that money is I've just developed a leadership and team building program for the MIT Sloan School using sailboats. And probably with the extra $10,000, I would hire more facilitators so that we could do training around the world. We're going to be training for MIT and Harvard, and we're also doing consulting firms, Boston Consulting Group, and we also want to talk to Bain and McKinsey, which means we need to have a budget to train the facilitators, to fly to locations that have water, which would be Boston, New York. Wintertime, we need to go to Florida and San Diego. And if someone wants to have a special treat, we would go to the British Virgin Islands. So the $10,000 would be for flights, hotels, and training our new facilitators. Tim?
Thank you, Michael. Let's switch up the question. Have you ever tried a healthy diet? And what was your experience with that healthy diet? Zach, would you like to come on up and answer this question?
Yes, a healthy diet, I tried that. When I just moved to Boston from Morocco, I tried to become a vegetarian because I was not, comfortable with having meat. So it was winter time. I needed protein. I didn't have enough protein for maybe 3 or 4 months, and I ended up going to the doctor, and it was a bad experience because I lost a lot of weight and I was not doing well. And that's a healthy diet that didn't work for me. So I started eating meat again. Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much. What's funny is if you're a vegetarian, a great option is peas. Pea protein, you should look it up. It's amazing. Who else would like to answer this question from the audience? Would you like to answer?
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you ever tried a healthy diet? And what were the results of that healthy diet? Michael, would you like to answer this question?
Thank you, Tim. I actually created my own diet once, and I wasn't expecting to do that. About 13 years ago, I retired, and I got really depressed and anxious from sitting around because I had nothing to do. I went on multiple antidepressants. I went through about 24 different prescription drugs, and finally I gave all that up and started studying mind-body medicine, and I realized that something just popped in my head that I wonder if I have nutrition deficiencies. So I started studying about foods for brain function, and it actually turned out that I did have deficiencies in my brain, which was causing panic attacks, causing depression, and causing anxiety. So I ended up creating a diet based on food for mood function. From that, I went to nutrition school. Then I moved to Germany, and I went to baking school, and I created my first food company, which was making a superfood bar for people with anxiety and depression. It was picked up by Whole Foods, and I sold that business about 3 months ago. So it was probably the first diet I ever came up with that worked. And the good news is the food is absolutely delicious. Lots of saturated fat, lots of skin on the chicken, and there's just absolutely no sacrifices whatsoever. I'd highly recommend it. And I'm in a really good mood right now, so it's working for me. Tim?
Thank you, Michael. Last time we were on the TV show, Michael actually brought some of his bars here. I think it was just because to pump us all up, but it definitely worked really well. Now, I have one more question I'm going to say right now. Can you share with us an example of when you were fearless? Zach, would you like to come on up and answer that question?
Yes. Again, I moved to Boston 2 years ago, and I was job hunting for a couple of months. I was having those interviews, maybe one interview every week, and that didn't work out. And I found this other job that is not in my field. I was a waiter, and I was still looking for a job that I was looking for, that will fit my expectations. I had this interview, and I was postponing the meeting with the appointment with my employer 3 times. At last, actually, I just went to the interview. I didn't prepare anything, and I just said, since I had bad experiences before with interviews, I just gonna go without any preparation. I went there, and I was fearless. I didn't prepare anything, but once there, because I was facing my fear, and I talked comfortably with the interviewer, that I got this job I'm working on now for 3 years now. Thank you.
That's amazing. Not many of us can go to a job interview without preparing and then actually get the job. That's awesome. Would you like to answer the question next? You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Juliana, and I have a couple of examples probably, but the most fun example is my skiing experience. So my friends decided to teach me how to ski, and they took me up on the Black Diamond, which, if you've ever skied, you know is the hardest out of all of them. And considering that I didn't know the difference between green, blue, and black, to me it was just pretty labels. So when we got to the top of the mountain, it looked a little steep, and I got a little scared. But then my friend said, "Oh no, don't worry, just go this way, this way, this way, you'll be fine." So I kept falling and rolling till the end of the mountain, and to an extent that my friends thought I'm gonna die, but because I was so determined to nail down skiing, that I continued rolling down, and by the end of my 3-hour journey, I think I've learned how to ski. So that's I'm looking back and I think, wow, that was pretty fearless because I didn't know what I'm dealing with. So I had no fear, just like a baby. They're fearless because they don't know what they're dealing with or consequences. I had no fear. I didn't know the consequences. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great story. But just so you're not tricked again, there is also double black diamond. So do not fall for that. Lauren, would you like to come up and answer this question as well? Thank you.
I don't think of myself as a fearless person. I think I have a lot of fears about a lot of things. Maybe I didn't have them when I was a child, but about, I would say, 20 years ago, I went on a sailing trip to the Bahamas, and we chartered 2 boats. And there were people there that were very good sailors, and we went out, and we were anchored down at a really beautiful spot. And people who sail maybe know this trick, but I had never been on it. I knew nothing about sailboats. These were good-sized boats, 50 feet or so. What you do is everybody gets the boat rocking back and forth and back and forth. And you take I'm going to call it, I don't know what it is, but the line from the tallest mast, and you pull it back, and you stand on the bow. I think it's the bow is the back of the boat, and it's rocking. So you've got this big line, and so the line, you're holding the line on the back, and you jump off when the boat's tilted this way. You jump out, and it swings you out all the way around, and you drop off into the water. And that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, I was scared, but I was with 13 other people. I wasn't going to show that I was scared. Well, of course, I get out there, and I think I'm trying to time it right. You got to time it right, because if you don't time it right, well, you'll do what I did, which is you'll hit the side of the boat when you let go. I smashed into the side of the boat, and I dropped to the water, and I think they thought that I was going to drown. And let's just put it this way, that's what happens when I'm fearless. Thank you, Tim.
I hope in the future you do try it again, because maybe it just takes a few tries to get it right. Now I'm going to bring the podium back to Michael for someone else to ask some great questions for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. So now we're going to move into the second phase of the television show, which is a different style of table topics. And Laura's going to come up and share with you her rules of the game, and then we're going to start all over again. Laura, would you like to come up?
Thank you.
Welcome.
So for my table topics rules, I will ask a question, and someone will come up to answer. I will pick someone to come up and answer it. And then I'll ask another question and ask someone else to come up. So no one will have a chance to prepare in advance of the question. They won't know until I've asked the question and invited them up. So with that, I'll begin. This is really to practice really on the spot thinking, on the spot speaking without any prep time. In one word, how would you describe your childhood? Tim, would you like to come up?
Thank you. If I could describe my childhood in just one word, I would describe it as adventurous. And the reason for that is because in back of my house, there's about 100 acres of woods. And me and my brothers, I had 3 of them, we'd be outside day and night, just running around the woods, playing pretend, having fun climbing trees, building tree forts, and just constantly being out in the outdoors. And that's why really, if I could describe my childhood in any way, I would definitely say that. It was just a very adventurous and fun childhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Sounds a lot like my childhood. I had woods in back of my house, and we had forts and hideouts, and people shot at us with BB guns, and a lot of great adventures, because growing up in rural Pennsylvania. So my next question is, what is your biggest phobia? Michael?
Thank you, Laura. Of course, she asked that question to the guy that said he had an anxiety problem a few years ago. That's okay. My biggest phobia, that's a good one. I actually don't really have one, although I really do. I'm afraid of being homeless. And it's the oddest fear. I don't know where it comes from. I've never been homeless before. I have to remind myself that I've had a meal every day. I've always lived indoors. But for some reason, it has been a phobia of mine. However, when I'm feeling unconfident, I'll look at homeless people and I relate to them. And I can see that I think all of us in this room, everyone in the world, is about 3 bad decisions away from being homeless. You could spend all of your money on a super yacht or make a deposit. That gets rid of all your money. You could say something really rude and obnoxious to your boss, and that gets rid of the job. And you don't even need the third bad decision because now you're pretty much close to being homeless. But that is my fear, and it also is a motivator. It constantly motivates me to stay on the ball and always be moving forward. So I use the fear as a motivator. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. That's a great story, great answer. I often think about being homeless too. I am afraid to admit it, and it is a fear. I don't know. It may be irrational. It may be rational, and sometimes I don't think being homeless would be all that bad. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I think we all can cope no matter what. So my next question is, what exactly is your favorite smell? Would you like to come up and answer that?
We have not met, but you hit my favorite subject. So I am a skincare connoisseur, and smells is part of any kind of skin product. I also collect perfume. So to make a long answer short, I do not have one particular favorite smell. I love the complexity, the bouquet that you can create from a variety of different essential oils or fragrances. And among all different types of fragrances, I prefer vegetable smells. For example, fresh leaf of tomato. A lot of people don't think of vegetables as source of great fragrance, but a lot of times it's overlooked. So if you've ever been on a farm and you've experienced fresh leaves of raspberry or mint or tomatoes, you probably can relate that this fragrance gives you certain food appeal, but at the same time it appeals to your other senses, and it creates a very unique experience, very different from a typical commercialized perfume. So that's my favorite smell. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question is, when was the last time you felt lucky? Any volunteers? Tim? Thanks.
Now, I feel lucky all the time, but a memory that really sticks out for me is when I was in high school and we had a bank lottery. And the first week we had the lottery, they announced my name over the loudspeaker, and I won a $25 gift card. The next week they had another lottery, and I heard my name once again over the loudspeaker, and I won an iPod. And people were mad. People were pissed. When one of the students picked my name, they wanted to throw it back in. But the teacher saw them and grabbed it and said, no, he fairly won this. And then the third week, when I heard my name one more time for an ice cream social coupon, that was it. People were mad at me. And why is it my fault that I'm so lucky? I ended up giving the ice cream social ticket to someone else because they were so mad at me for winning that I just thought it would calm them down a little bit. And that's a time in my life where I definitely felt the most lucky, because who wins 3 lotteries in a row? That's very rare. That's why I think I'm so lucky. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. You should start playing the real lottery. My next question is interesting, because I had this experience once, and I'm not going to answer the question myself, but I like this question. So, when was the when was your first impression of someone totally wrong? Do I have any volunteers? Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. When was my first impression of someone totally wrong? I would have to say it's a bit of an embarrassing thing, but I worked at this money management firm, as I had mentioned before, in my early 20s, and I really didn't like some of the people that I worked with. So I would intentionally have chili at lunchtime so that by 3 p.m., I was really being really obnoxious and rude to some of the people in the office. And we had a new person who came, and her name was Shelley Stultz. And I thought, oh, she'll just fit in, and I'll just do my thing to Joan, because Joan always annoyed me, my desk mate. And there I was at 3 p.m. doing the little methane thing that I was doing, and I got this hand on my shoulder, and it was the new girl, and she says behind me, "Was that you?" And I got so embarrassed because all these older women just would never acknowledge what I was doing. They wouldn't say anything. It was just my little passive-aggressive way of doing things. And I thought, God, this woman's just really forward. She doesn't even know me. And she's like, accusing me of doing things that I actually am doing. And it turned out that she's now my best friend. And when I started my money management firm years later, she became my business partner. And I just thought she was this really rude woman. But no, she's my best friend now.
What a great story. Well, first impressions usually don't lie, but I guess they do. So I'm glad you made a friend out of that. I don't know. I don't think you'd buy my friend, that's for sure. So on a little more serious note, sometimes we read the news, and it can be pretty distressing watching the news. So I'm going to ask this question: what worries you about the future? Volunteers? Tim? I'm sure you have something to say about the future. Thank you.
Thank you. What worries me about the future, because I'm a business analyst and I'm very involved in big data, is the fact that there is just so much data out there. And there's so many different platforms now. There's our cell phones, there's our tablets, there's our computers, and there's applications for financials, for every little thing that we do. And we're tying our identities to those items. We're even now taking our fingerprint and putting that on our phone and giving a copy of our fingerprint to private companies. So I think the biggest issue, security issue in the future, is really going to be hackers and computer programmers that are able to hack into these programs and steal all of our personal information and our data. And that's something that's coming down the road in a few years, and that kind of scares me.
Thank you, Tim. That is truly a legitimate fear, I think. It's what I marvel at is how much data you can learn about yourself and keep track of all the time. We're always keeping track of how many steps we take, how many calories we eat, how many calories we burn, how much everything. I think it is a little scary how quantifiable we all have become. So winter's coming. It's going to be here soon. We're all dreading it. So when winter comes, what will you do for a fun activity? Would you like to answer that? Thanks.
Thanks, Juliana. So, fun activity in Boston. I am tempted to say library. Because Boston is home to so many universities and colleges, and I'm currently pursuing my master's at one of the schools. So I know that's not a definition of fun, but that's probably will be my destiny for the next few months, library or home. Aside from library and home, I hope to do some skiing. I think that's a lot of fun, and I absolutely love winter sports. One of the things that I wanted to do for the last year is to learn snowboarding. I know it's very different from skiing, but I'm very excited to pick up a new skill. So my goal for this upcoming winter would be try snowboarding and see if I like it more than skiing, or maybe I'm equally good at both. So, thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. That's great. Just avoid those double black diamonds, or even the black diamonds. Another inspirational question I have is, what will you never give up on? Michael.
Thank you, Laura. I think what I'll never give up on is trying. I remember when I hit what I consider to be an emotional bottom, just completely depressed, unmotivated, no ideas. What actually got me out of it was saying to myself, there's nothing else to do but go up. And I just imagined a very deep, dark hole that I was in. I was at the bottom of it, and a very long ladder. And I thought, I'm already at the bottom. The only thing I can do is go up. So why not just take one step, no matter how slow it is, in that direction and just keep going? Because if I don't do that, it's really boring to stand at the bottom of this hole. So I will never give up on trying because there's nothing else to do. And that is actually how I motivate myself out of really tough spots. It's pretty simple.
Thank you, Michael. I think we have time for a few more questions, one more question. So, I'm looking for a job, just so you know, and there's a question here about what job would you never do, no matter how much it paid? Right now, I feel like I'd take any job, but I probably wouldn't. So, who would like to answer that question? Would you like to answer that question, Zach? Thank you.
So, yes, what job can I take, no matter how much it's... I think I won't be a plane pilot because it just scares me, and with all the... it just gives me a lot of responsibility. There are a lot of people on the plane, and that's one of the jobs that it will be difficult for me to do. It's just taking a lot of risk taken from me than anything else. Thank you.
Zach, I totally agree with you. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our club president, Michael McCarthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So now we're going to move into phase 3 of our show. We're going to give the podium back to Tim Scalabon to be Table Topics Master again, and Tim's going to switch it up and tell us exactly what we're going to do next. Tim, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. I'm really excited to ask some more great questions to the audience. Now, for this round, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call an audience member up, and then I will ask the question. So, Ilana, would you like to come up first?
Thank you, Tim.
You're very welcome. I would love to hear just something that you're passionate about, like a topic you're passionate about. Could you please talk about that?
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. So I might have mentioned earlier that I'm a skincare connoisseur, and I'm very excited that some of my team members at school and I have started this new venture. And I would like to introduce you a new company. We call it Beautology, the science of beauty. So what is Beautology? Beautology is a platform that enables users to achieve and exceed their beauty potential. What do we mean by that? Our app will work alongside with your daily beauty products and will help you to develop step-by-step beauty regimens that will suit your needs on a specific day, specific week, based on the season. So I'm very excited today. You're the first people to hear about Beautology, the science of beauty. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. That sounds awesome. Where do I sign up for this? Who would like to go next? Lauren, would you like to come on up? Yep. Now, Lauren, what is something that you lost interest in lately, that you used to love, that you no longer do?
Thank you, Tim, for that question. What have I lost interest in? Well, there are a lot of things that I have done in the past, and I just can't seem to do them anymore. And things they're not that interesting, but I used to make jewelry, and I love doing that, and I haven't done that in a long time. I paint. I haven't been painting at all. So it's sort of like when you're looking for a job or when you're looking for a new career or whatever, your life gets consumed with those things, and sometimes it's so easy to forget just to sit back and do some of those things that don't make any money for you or don't lead to something, but just take you out of the moment, take you out of the stress of whatever it is you're doing, and just enjoy that activity. And I have to, thank you for the question, because I think I do need to step back and pick up some of those things that I used to do that I haven't been doing. So I appreciate the question. Thanks.
Thank you. I feel that many of us are kind of in the same boat because life moves so fast, and sometimes we just need to stop and think about what we really enjoy doing or what we used to enjoy doing that would bring us happiness now. Who would like to come up next for another question? Michael, would you like to come on up?
Sure. Be nice.
I'll try to be. Michael, what is a quick decision that you made that changed your life?
A quick decision I made that changed my life was when I went whitewater rafting down the Grand Canyon with 20 people, and someone said, we're all going to take a hike up to a waterfall. And they just made it sound like it was going to be a simple hike. And I remember as we got up there, we came to a part of a ledge where there was only this much room for my feet. So half my feet were hanging off, but there was a ledge coming out to my chest about like this. So I'm crawling sideways to get where I needed to go. There were 15 people behind me, and there were 5 people in front of me, so I couldn't stop and get off the bus. There was none of that. And when you look down, it was about 1,000 feet down, and I would have definitely died. It was actually the first time I thought, I'm really in trouble. I was completely scared. And I don't usually get completely scared. I mean, in my head I do, but this was a physical thing. This was real. This wasn't my made-up anxiety. This was like, I might die. And I just, in a second, I defaulted to one of these self-help books that I had just read. And I gave myself a mantra. And I said, I walk with grace and ease. I walk with grace and ease. And I just took these little baby steps, and I walked with grace and ease, and I was fine. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I also spent a week camping in the Grand Canyon, and luckily I did not have any experiences like that. It was pretty safe for me, at least. Zach, would you like to come on up for a question?
Be nice.
I am so nice. Zach, what have you done today that you're most proud of?
I came to this show. That was a challenge for me, actually, just to it's my first time in a studio, and I try to challenge that and experience the Toastmasters. And on TV, it's just something that's challenging. I'm proud of that anyway. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tim. Sorry.
Thank you. Yuzana, would you like to come on up for a question? Now, I'm just curious because you talked about your new business. Can you tell me what inspired you? Like, what inspired you to actually start this business?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. It's been a long road to get here, but it takes root my teenage years. So when I was about 13, I stopped being a pretty kid because I've developed a common skin condition called acne. And I remember I refused to go to school because I was so embarrassed. And kids at that age are very, very vicious and mean individuals. So you think, how can that little cute girl who's 13 be so evil? But they are. I've gone through many, many years of trying thousands of products, procedures, going from doctors to gypsies, to astrologers, to estheticians, to figure out how I fix it. I never fixed it, by the way. So there is no such thing as a fix for acne-prone skin. You have it for life. But I've gotten my skin condition under control. And over the years, as I was going through my journey, I realized I'm not alone. And we are bombarded by companies to buy products, go spend money on beauty gurus. And most of it, or a lot of it, doesn't work or is not suited for your skin type. So I wanted to create a platform that will help women to discover what's the best route for them to take, to give them a shortcut so they don't have to spend 10 years like I did to find an optimal balance for their skincare regime, that maybe it should take them a year or less. So that's what prompted me to start thinking, how can I help all the women and men, of course, out there? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lauren, can you please come on up here for a question? The best part about asking questions when they're up here is I can do follow-up questions. Lauren, can you please tell me about a masterpiece that you painted or just something that you created? Because you said you were very passionate about this.
Sure. Thanks. I have a tendency to focus on doing landscapes. I don't know why. I grew up in a place, a beautiful setting with a lot of hills, and it was very green. So a lot of my pictures start out as landscapes, and one day I started doing this landscape, and it just wasn't working. And so I had it in the landscape format, long on the top, short on the sides. And I said, I'm so bored with this, so I turned it this way. And all of a sudden, it looked like the backside of a person. So I continued on, and basically I ended up with somebody's rear end and two legs, and that was my painting. And I don't know, it ended up in Goodwill. It's probably on someone's wall somewhere, but maybe I'll be famous, and someone will have that little painting in their house. That's my most memorable painting.
That painting sounds awesome. I think I might go to Goodwill and try to find it if I can. Do you remember which Goodwill it was? Com Ave. Okay, I'm going to go right after the meeting. Zach, would you like to come up for a question? Now, Zach, this recipe that sparked your dissertation, can you tell me what that recipe was? And did you actually end up making the recipe?
I made the recipe on my dissertation, actually, using coding and information technology data. The recipe was a couscous. I don't know if you know the Moroccan dish. The couscous in Morocco is different. It's not a side dish, but it's a meal that everybody eats mostly on Fridays. So it was a combination of fish that we actually don't use for couscous, and the recipe was made with fish couscous and some vegetables, and it was sweet. So it gives me how we can use the extreme of some, because couscous in Morocco it's related to culture, actually. It's a national meal. And just tweaking it and using the fish in it, it just made me think that I should think out of the box and get something into my dissertation. And that was totally out of the box. And that helped, actually. It was just something that sparkled my inspiration. Thank you.
I'm still amazed by that story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Michael, would you like to come up for a question?
I'm warmed up. You don't have to be so nice this time.
Can you tell me more about maybe your favorite quote and what it means to you?
My favorite quote was on my best friend's refrigerator in Dallas, Texas. This was at my friend Shelley's house. And it says, "For those of you who say that it cannot be done, please do not disturb those who are currently doing it." And I loved it because I've always felt like some kind of eccentric outsider where people say you can't do this or you're being strange or this is an odd idea. But I've always felt very strongly about a lot of my ideas, and I realize that if no one else has done them before, either I'm doing something completely wrong, completely weird, or I'm a trailblazer. You don't know until it's done. If you're successful, you're a trailblazer. If you're not, you're just a weirdo. And depending on whatever happens with what I'm doing, I end up being okay with people thinking that I'm strange or eccentric or wasting my time or ADD. None of those apply. I'm just really willing to take a risk and try something. And when I see a quote like that, it reminds me that when people tell me that something can't be done, if you think something can or cannot be done, you're right. If you think it can be done, you're right. If you think it can't be done, you're right. I tend not to listen to those people, but it takes a lot of courage. And I wish I had taken that little magnetic sign off my friend's fridge, but that's my favorite quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. What I like to say is for every person that says you're crazy or no, there's always someone you can find that's just as crazy as you that will be on board. Now, who else would like to answer a question? Sana, would you like to come on up? Can you please tell me some other ways that your friends have tricked you besides skiing?
Oh, gosh, that's a very tough one to think right away. Well, there have been some, I've been tricked into blind dates, which I didn't know they're blind dates, where I've been invited to join a group of friends for drinks. I show up, and there would be only one friend sitting with a guy, and then my friend would say, "I'm just going to go powder my nose, and I'll be back." And she disappears. And I receive a text message on a phone, "Have fun," smiley face, "Am I great?" question mark. So that's that happened not too long ago. But that's probably the most fun example that comes to mind. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I've yet to be on a blind date, luckily. So now I'm kind of scared whenever my friends ask me to hang out, because it could be right down the road. So I have time for one more question, and then it's going to be someone else's turn to ask questions. And Lauren, would you like to come on up for the final question?
Go easy.
I've been very nice so far.
Oh, so far.
What do you like to do on New Year's?
Okay, what do I like to do on New Year's? Are you ready? Nothing. No, honest, I don't really get revved up about New Year's all that much. I guess what I'd like to do is I spend it with a few friends, maybe have a dinner. We might stay up, we might not. We might all go our separate ways, but I don't really care about whooping it up. I've done that, but I won't do it now. My time's more valuable, and I just like being with people I like and not with the crowds. A little champagne is good. Maybe a lot of champagne, but no out on the town kind of activities. So that's how I like to spend New Year's. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. So as you can see from the question variety, these questions can be all over the place, and that's what makes it really fun for the audience. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Those are some good questions. We certainly all know each other a lot better than before. I might want to go to Goodwill and just pick up that butt picture, because I'm sure it's the only one. So I'd like to invite Laura back for the final stage of our meeting. She's going to do phase 4 of our table topics, and we're just going to keep going, and the show is probably going to end, but we're just going to keep going right through it. So Laura, come on up.
Thank you, Michael. So in the spirit of being crazy, and I think we're all a little crazy, sometimes I think that our country, and maybe other countries too, have their own crazy sports addicts. So I guess I'm going to ask the question, do you think team sports in this country is overdone? Juliana?
Thank you. Sorry, I volunteered, though. This is my first time here, but I'm getting in a mood. I come from Eastern Europe, so sports are not as big there, though they're quite big, such as soccer, for example, is huge. I do think this country has sports out of control, and a lot of money goes into, for example, American football versus some other parts of educational system getting underfunded, such as science. So I really hope that one day there are going to be some equal distribution of funds among different educational channels. And yeah, that's my view. Thank you.
Juliana, it is interesting that some of the major football college teams generate so much revenue for their universities that they do go to fund a lot of the programs. So but it still elevates that sport to a ridiculous level in terms of money making. So my next question is about what makes life easier for you? Is there anything in your life that makes life easier? Tim, want to come up? Thanks.
What makes life easier for me is definitely efficiency, automation, and schedules. So what I do is I try to establish good habits in my life, and then I just try to automate it. For instance, I'll come up with a few meal plans, and then I'll just repeat them week after week, just switch them up a little bit. That way I eat really healthy, I save money because I budget that way, and also, on top of that, it takes no thought at all. And I can then focus my mind on more important things in my life. And I just constantly try to do this. What else in my life can I just automate and make very simple so I can just do it to the best of my abilities and not think about it anymore and move on to the next item. And that's why I love efficiency. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. I don't know, Tim, if you've seen the show Mr. Robot, but it's a great TV show. But it's a series. It's over, but I recommend you watch it. Automation, efficiency, a little bit of a dark side there. Speaking of series and TV has become very competitive, I think, in terms of quality. So do any of you do binge watching or have a series that you just couldn't stop watching? Something on Netflix, perhaps, or Amazon, or even on live TV, regular weekly TV. Michael? Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to need the help from the audience, but there was something that I did binge watch. Everyone's saying House of Cards, and no, it was all women on a cul-de-sac. Desperate Housewives. I watched way too much Desperate Housewives. I don't know what it was about. It was just completely random, weird stuff, but I actually couldn't stop doing it. And for some reason, when I stopped drinking alcohol, I stopped watching those shows drunk, and so now I don't binge watch anymore. Now I actually binge read good books, but yeah, once the booze left, I stopped watching Desperate Housewives, and now I probably don't identify with all the weird stuff they got up to. But back then, I did.
Thank
you.
you, Michael. That's very admirable that you had a hard time remembering, even because I watch so many that I can't even remember the ones that I watch. I watch so many. That's kind of an embarrassing thing. I'm just going to see if there are any other really good questions I want to ask here. Is there such a thing as perfect? Zach? Thank you.
I think perfect will be a target that anybody can have, on an objective to have perfect. It's a relative term, and when when we seek perfect, actually, I think that we just excel in what we are doing, and for me, being perfectionist, it's a quality better than more than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Perfection is really, I don't think, attainable, but it is nice to try, I guess. That said, there's one thing sometimes I think about, things I've done, and I'd like to maybe turn it over to Tim to come on up, maybe ask a question. Thanks, Tim.
So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. I'm sad to say that this show is actually ended right now, and all of us in the audience had a great time here, and we all got great experience with public speaking and just answering these very improv questions. And we do all belong to a Toastmasters club and also to another organization that promotes public speaking. So what I'd recommend is, I think the information's on the TV show. So I highly recommend that all of you check out the information that's listed on the TV show on your screen and attend one of our meetings, because you will learn some great skills from that. And so once again, thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great night. Really appreciate it.